may not know about the Casey Foundation, so I wanted you to know that we are a private national foundation headquartered in Baltimore, Maryland. Jim Casey, who is the founder of UPS, created our foundation, and we've been working to improve outcomes for the nation's most vulnerable kids for over 60 years. In the late 80s, we became a major grant-making and advocacy organization. And one of our very first initiatives, which has really become one of our signature projects, is Kids Count. And as Doug indicated, every year we release the Kids Count data book. And we use the best available data to measure educational, social, economic, and physical well-being of America's children. This year, July 27th, will mark our 21st edition. Today, we've actually done something special. This is our first ever Kids Count special report. And the actual reason we did that is because we think reading matters so much. The report that Gail discussed highlights an issue that we believe the nation must pay attention to if we hope in improving the life outcomes of kids and families, which really helps us carry out our mission. I'm particularly delighted tonight to represent the foundation at this event. Prior to joining the foundation in 2001, I was part of the Georgia Family Connection leadership team. In fact, I don't know if many of you know it, but when the first edition of Kids Count came out in 1990, and Georgia had the distinction of ranking at or near the bottom of every single indicator of child well-being, it actually led to the creation of Family Connection. So there's a historical connection between the two. I'd like to take a few minutes to indicate and kind of reiterate why this issue of third grade reading proficiency is so important. And we are the Casey Foundation, and we do love data. So I really want to talk about the sheer wealth of the research that confirms what we knew and suspected all along. Reading matters, and it matters a great deal. And General Donald, I want to start with a statistic that I think matches your number. That researchers at Yale found that 75% of third graders who were poor readers never caught up. And I suspect that 75% of your prison population never graded. I think those are the same population. So we're really finding, that those were poor readers. They probably, never were able to catch up, and they were never able to graduate. The data also tells us that failure to read at third grade, by the end of third grade, can actually lead to behavioral problems and can actually derail a student's progress for the rest of their career. Right now, we've got some data this week that based on current trends, an estimated 6 million children next year will start fourth grade, still learning to read, instead of reading to learn. And this actually places them on that cradle to prison pathway, instead of cradle to career. We've got decades of research and data that show that they will be dropping out of school in a low-wage, dead-end job and living in poverty. Over the past decade, the foundation has been pursuing something called a two-generation strategy. And actually, Ms. Carter and Angel are the perfect example of a two-generation strategy. We're working with the parents to really launch them on a pathway to a family-supporting career and then building wealth and assets, which are fast on that pathway. While at the same time, we're working with the children of those parents to really launch them on a pathway to student success and adult success. And that's really why we're putting the stake in the ground. We actually think that kids being able to read by third grade is the best way we can attack this cycle of poverty. So we think it's actually the smartest and the best investment we can make in terms of improving the lives of kids and families. Now Gail mentioned a little bit, several people mentioned about this decade-long campaign. We are actually joining with philanthropic partners all over the country to put together a national campaign to promote grade-level reading. I don't think it makes mention of this tonight, but I want to say this. Georgia is the first state that the Casey Foundation is launching a statewide campaign. And the reason for that, there's so many strengths in Georgia. We've got Family Connection Partnership, we've got great state agencies, we've got the philanthropic community behind this, we've got the leadership of Commissioner Walker to really lead the campaign. I look at all of you in the audience, this is just the right See your United Way back in the back. We've got so many assets to build on to launch this in Georgia. So I really expect, I think I was looking at the data that Georgia our ranking is 35 and kids not meeting the 4th grade NAEP scores. I think it's 71% of the kids in 4th grade are not meeting that. 71% of the kids in Georgia are not meeting the 4th grade NAEP reading proficiency. So I hope midway through this campaign 5 years from now, we'll be standing here saying that 71% meet. I mean, this is mission possible. This is something, our trustees I don't think we've really ever adopted a campaign like this before. And the reason they think it's mission possible, I think this is a solvable problem. So I want to tell you that we're kind of sounding, you'll see in our literature, an early warning signal and begin making the case that reading proficiency by the end of 3rd grade is the fundamental benchmark for developmental success and kids being on a pathway to student success and adult success. Thank you.